Chatter with our host, Tony Chapman, the host of the Chatter That Matters podcast. It's nice to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Always a pleasure.
I feel like there's a lot to talk about this week. One of the big stories really breaking yesterday, the WNBA, Toronto's getting a team, Christine Sinclair getting a Barbie. What a time for women's sports. Let's start by talking a bit about the WNBA and Toronto. What do you think Toronto will really need to do to rally up the base and be successful here in the city?
Well, it's a well-oiled machine, so they know how to take sports and they bring it to the masses. The challenge with women basketball is this isn't the States. The United States basketball is, I mean, it's the oxygen of a lot of people. They love it. So we got to really do it. And I think they're doing some things very smart. We're not going to just make it for Toronto. We're going to make it Canada's team. We're going to play games in Vancouver. We're going to go to Montreal. So if they start building a following that way, I think they stand a real chance of success. It's a fantastic game. Women's basketball is out in terms of ratings this year is just crushing men in college. So I think that there's a real opportunity to grow the sport in Canada. It's going to take some time because, again, Canadians haven't grown up with basketball. The Raptors they've kind of got excited about, but, you know, the changing demographics, people coming into this country are bringing a soccer ball or a basketball under their arms. All of those things point to long-term success. But the next couple of years really plant some great roots.
And we know we have 2 years until they officially start playing here in Toronto. And there was the mention yesterday, they don't have a team name, they don't have the colors, but they're open to suggestions. Will that also help, you know, rally up the fan base there and get people excited about getting involved? What do you think?
Absolutely. 2 years is a long time to keep people's interest. So they got to decide when are they going to have those contests? When are they going to crowdsource the energy of the team? And what colors would you like? And, you know, what should the name be? And that all of that stuff ladders into the launch. The first season's going to do really well because it's new and novel. The real challenge with any new sports franchise is the second year, the third year, and the fourth year. Creating that momentum, bringing a star in, creating star power, maybe a local star that comes out of our university program. Somebody they're scouting in high school today. They're saying, I hope she becomes a future. All of that really ladders into success.
Yeah, I can only imagine the work that's going into behind the scenes right now. You also want to highlight a local organization. This is WoodGreen Community Services, this advertisement that's come out talking about people who are unhoused, unsupported. What did you make of this? I just watched it. It's pretty impressive.
It's such this organization is so important to Toronto. And here's the issue. Less people are giving to charity, and those who are giving less at a time when needs being so great.
So great.
So in this tight little advertising, Ann Babcock and her team at WoodGreen, unhoused to house, unemployed to employed, unwelcome to welcome. They're showing the problem and the solution that can happen if they get the funds. I think it's just a beautiful, beautiful campaign. Yeah. And it's not about sadvertising. It's not about tearing at your heartstrings. It's dealing with the realities of a city and a lot of people in the city in need. Full marks to WoodGreen. Great branding from a not-for-profit organization.
And that effective advertising can be so beneficial and make such a difference for these organizations.
Well, you know where your money's going. There's unhoused, there's lots of tents on the street. We're going to make them housed. They've got some programs like Homeward Bound where they'll take a woman that's been traumatized in a shelter and give her 4 years of affordable housing. She has to stay in school, she has to get an education, but once she graduates, they guarantee her a job. So they're taking people and saying that I no longer have hope. I'm going to be in this cycle of poverty my whole life. And not only reaching up with a check, they're reaching up with a program. That to me is the kind of, when you start putting programs like this out, people that have dollars to spare go, that's a place to invest.
Yeah, certainly. Another big one we talked about yesterday. So we know the U.S. Department of Justice suing Live Nation over the alleged Ticketmaster monopoly. I mean, it certainly seems like the monopoly, not a lot of options there. What do you make of this move and what we're going to see over the coming weeks and months?
Well, Live Nation has always had this strategy called Flywheel, basically set up a toll booth everywhere that they can monetize people's appetite for live concerts. That's capitalism. You know, you vertically integrate, you try to control all the touch points. But what the government's saying in the States, you've gotten too big, and now the consumer's suffering. We don't like the fact that the prices they're paying, that the flywheel's making too much money, and what it's doing is limiting access to concerts, and you're in control of who gets the concert. So, with all this power in the hands of one person, more often than not, it never serves the consumer well. And I think give the states credit. They will break up. They broke up AT&T. Microsoft had to save Apple when Apple was going bankrupt, because if Apple had gone bankrupt, they would have broken up Microsoft. So the United States is not afraid of saying, when you get too strong and too powerful, we're going to step in on behalf of the consumer.
Yeah, and so interesting that it really seemed with Taylor Swift's concerts, that's what got people going, how is this fair? And it's so frustrating, and we want to see this show. Now, of course, we're hearing people going over to Europe to watch that concert because it's just easier to access the tickets and pay for them.
I don't know if you heard about this. I just saw it today in LinkedIn. Avion's actually having a concert. The RBC, I guess, is bringing Taylor Swift here. They've got a concert where you can win a full trip to Taylor Swift in Vancouver. I mean, so I give credit to some organizations saying we're actually on behalf of the little person and want to do whatever you can. By the way, you don't have to, what I understand, you don't have to even have an Avion card. Just, hey, enter. We want you to have a chance to see Taylor Swift.
Yeah, a lot of big stories to talk about there. Tony, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Have a great weekend.